ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the Friday and Saturday series on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Rūpa Goswami, Rūpa Śikṣā. Yesterday we were discussing the actual teachings what Mahaprabhu is giving to Srila Rūpa Goswami. Firstly, he speaks about the position of the living entity in the material world. He is wandering in the 84 lakh varieties of species. And there is a division in that, Stavar and Jangam. And within the Jangam, there is Tiryak, Jal, Salachar. Tiryak means those which fly in the air, those which move in the air. Jalachar means those bodies which are habited in water. And Stalchar means those which move on land. Taramade, among them, Taramade, this was the first division. And then Taramade, Manushya Jati, Ati Alpatar. So among the Stalchar, the Manushya Jati is a very small number. And in that Manush, Taramade, Mlecha Pulinda Bauddha Shravar. All are below the Varnashram. They are not civilized human beings. And now the uncivilized have been categorized. The civilized are the Vedanishta. Those who follow the Vedas, they can be called as civilized. But within the followers of Vedas, Vedanishta Made, Ardhake Veda Mukamane. They only do lip service to the Vedas. Veda Nishita Pap Kare. What is prohibited in the Vedas? They do sin because the tendency to commit sin is very, very strong in the conditions of Dharma Nahi Gane. They don't know the true purpose of the Vedas. So Veda Nishta yesterday we saw. And then those who are following, who are dharmanishta, dharmachari madhe bahut karmanishta. And those who are following actually the path of Vedas and not committing sin, they are what? Karmanishta. And yesterday we had a little bit discussion on what is karmanishta. Karmanishta is those who have nishta in their particular nature, the conditioned nature, and they follow the dharma shastras, which prescribe duties according to their nature. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Their swadharma is based on their nature, conditioned nature. And further, when they elevate, they come to the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga, whose goal is liberation. But still, they are also Karma Nishta. That was the point. And although they worship the Lord, they offer the fruits of their work to the Lord, which is called as Karma Arpanam, but still they are considered Karma Nishta. We have Nishta in Bhakti. We have developed faith in Bhakti. The faith in Bhakti is the faith of the soul. But faith in one's nature, identification that I am Brahmana, but I am spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and my duty is to serve Krishna. This identification of a Vaishnava, of a devotee, is based on the faith of the soul. So this is not karma nishta. But when one identifies, oh, I'm a Brahmana, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm an Indian, and based on that, oh, my duty is so and so, that identification is based on the conditioned nature, not the spiritual constitutional nature. So that's why they are karma nishta. So yesterday we discussed about this karma nishta. And then koti karma nishta madhe eka jnani shreshta. Among such crores, koti means crores, karma nishta, among such crores of karma nishta, eka jnani shresht. You will hardly find one who is a jnani, one who gives up the fruits of his actions and desires liberation. He doesn't want to now get entangled in actions, because actions cause reaction. So he tries to become silent. So the jnani is a wise person. That's what Prabhupada says. Now further, let us continue our discussion today about these jnanis. Further, what Mahaprabhu has to say. Koti jnana madhye hoy eka jana mukta, koti mukta madhye durlabha eka Krishna bhakta. Out of the millions of such wise men, koti jnana madhye, now these jnanis they have given up actions. They have given up doing actions because they have an understanding and realization that actions bind us into reactions, the cycle of birth and death. I want to get out of this world. So any actions I perform will bind me in this material world. So they give up actions and they try to become silent. So such jnanis, koti jnani madhe hoya ek jnana mukta. So such people who are sthita pragya, in one's self-realized, Krishna speaks about this or gives a hint about this in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I just want to show you the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, how he doesn't do any actions because actions bind him. So Krishna says, Yastu atmaritir evasyad atmatriptascha manava atmanneva cha santushta tasya karyam na vidyate. Yastu atmarati evasyad, one who takes pleasure within himself. Atmatriptascha, he's self-illuminated. And atmanneva cha santushta, he takes pleasure in his self. Tasya karyam na vidyate, for him, he has no duty to be performed. So no varnashram duties he needs to perform. But further, even such self-realized souls do actions in order to set up an example for others. That further Krishna will tell. But just a hint of a Jnani who is self-realized and he is now liberated. One may actually become liberated, mukt. And out of millions of such liberated persons, Koti Mukta Madhe Durlabha Eka Krishna Bhakt. A pure devotee of Krishna is very difficult to find. Although here Mahaprabhu is using the term Krishna Bhakta, here Prabhupada is making it very clear. Here Krishna Bhakta is not a new Bhakta who is joined now and taken up to spiritual life. Krishna Bhakta here means a pure devotee, one who has attained perfection by practice of pure devotional service. So Koti Mukta Madhe, among millions of such liberated Jnanis, hardly you will find a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Very difficult to find. So this is the rarity of pure devotional service. So now let us go into the purport of Srila Prabhupada and try to understand what Prabhupada is trying to say. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10-32, it is said that due to pure fund of knowledge, the Jnanis are not actually liberated. That's a very important point. Prabhupada wants to give us the highest thing. Liberation is not the highest for Vaishnavas. The Shad Goswamis, in the Shad Goswami Ashtakapatana mentioned that they came to save us from the jaws of the crocodile of liberation. And liberation is considered as hellish. That is what Prabodhanand Saraswati Thakur says. Although liberation is a very lofty goal according to the Vedas, but Mahaprabhu has come us to give Krishna Prem. So from that perspective, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in his purport that although by Jnana Yoga one can attain liberation in the form of merging of the impersonal Brahman, but that is not an aspiration for the devotees. So liberation is considered completely insignificant. Sayuj liberation is spiritual suicide for one who is on the path of bhakti. But Prabhupada is making also a point that those who are still not liberated, but they think they are liberated, Prabhupada is quoting this verse. Prabhupada is going to explain this verse. Let us go through the purport. So it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that due to pure fund of knowledge, the Jnanis are not actually liberated. They simply think that they are liberated. Vimukta Manina. Vimukta Manina means they think they are liberated, but they are not liberated. The perfection of knowledge culminates when one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdate. So the Jnanis only realize the Brahman aspect of the absolute truth. The yogis realize only the Paramatma aspect of the absolute truth. But the devotees realize the Bhagavan, the personal aspect of the absolute truth. The absolute truth, Satya Vastu, is described as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the super soul is imperfect until one comes to the platform of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is giving the understanding that the absolute truth is Bhagavan. So we should not, get our attention diverted to the Gyan Marg to realize the absolute truth as Brahman, or the Yoga Marg by which we can realize the Paramatma in the heart. Because the highest aspect of absolute truth is Bhagavan. It is therefore clearly said in this verse, Koti Mukta Madhe Durlabha Eka Krishna Bhakt. So Prabhupada is focusing on Krishna Bhakt because even among liberated thousands, crores of liberated Jnanis, there is rarely one pure devotee. So how glorious is the pure devotee? So Prabhupada is bringing up that comparison. Those who search after the knowledge of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma are certainly accepted as liberated. So they can get liberated by the process of Jnana Yoga and attain Sahija liberation. The yogis can liberate themselves by merging into the body of the Lord, which is called as Ishwar Sayuj. The Jnanis get Brahma Sayuj, the yogis can get Ishwar Sayuj. But from the bhakti perspective, it is considered completely hellish. So that's why Prabhupada is accepting that they can get liberated, certainly as liberated, but due to their pure imperfect knowledge, they are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Vimuktamaniya. Because of their imperfect knowledge about the absolute truth, Srimad Bhagavatam says they are Vimukta Maniya. Since their knowledge is imperfect, their conception of liberation is imperfect. So here Prabhupada is bringing a higher understanding. So the highest conception of liberation is not to merge in the Lord's body, impersonal effulgence, which the Jnanis do, nor to merge in the body of the Lord, but muktir hitva anyata swarupam swarupena vyavasthita. Muktir hitva anyata swarupena vyavasthita. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam experience. What is mukti? Mukti hitva anyata, giving up all other designations, and swarupena vyavasthita, being situated in our constitutional position. Our constitutional position is Jevera Swarupoy Krishna Nityadas. That we are the part and parcel of Krishna and we have to serve Krishna. Krishna is predominated, we are predominator, we are predominated. Krishna is the master, we are the servant. And there's a loving relationship between the master and master and the servant in the form of devotional service where there is loving reciprocations. So these are what constitute bhakti. But by the process of Gyan or Ashtanga Yoga, the living entity's constitution is in one sense extinguished by merging in the Brahman effulgence or merging in the body of the Lord. So there is no service there, although you can get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So that is why their conception of liberation is imperfect. That's what Prabhupada says. Perfect knowledge is possible when one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is supported by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So what is perfect knowledge? The Jnanis and the Yogis have imperfect knowledge, Prabhupada said. So what is perfect knowledge? Prabhupada is explaining in this next line. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwara suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerity. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, the supreme lord of all planets, sarvaloka maheshwar and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, Suridam Sarva Bhutana, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Gyatva Mam Shantim Ruchiti. So, here I would like to give a little deeper understanding of this verse. The Karma Kandis, they desire to enjoy in this world. So they see the Lord as Bhoktaram, because they also want to enjoy. So they do yagyas so they can get the results of their yagyas so that they can enjoy in this world, or they can enjoy in the next world in the heavenly planets. So the Karma Kandis, they view the Lord as Bhoktaram and they do yagyas. I want to enjoy in this world. I will do yagyas so that I can nicely enjoy in this world, even in the heavenly planets. So they think the God as a supplier for my enjoyment. So that is their conception of God. Yagya tapasam are the yogis. the Gyan yogis, who perform tapasya in order to become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So that is their consciousness. Yajna tapasa means they perform austerities. That's why the Gyan Marg is the path of tremendous austerity, even the Yoga Marg. The yogis see the Lord as Sarva Loka Maheshwara. He is the creator of this universe. So that's why the yogis meditate on the Virata Purusha. The universe is considered as the body of the Lord. And this is the gross body. And then there is a subtle conception in the form of Paramatma in the heart. So these are the yogis. But the devotees understand the Lord as a friend, as a well-wisher, and they want to have a loving reciprocation with the Lord. So Suridam Sarva Bhutanam are the devotees who worship the Lord in loving devotional service. They want to develop a friendship with the Lord. And only when there is understanding that I'm an individual, the Lord is also an individual, and there are reciprocations in different rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, then there is reciprocation. So in devotion, there has to be Bhakta and Bhagavan, and the activities of the Bhakt in relation to Bhagavan is what constitutes Bhakti. So there are three things: Bhakta, Bhagavan, and Bhakti. So they realize that the Lord is the friend and well-wisher of mine. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. And only the devotees can realize the Lord, Gyatva Mam, and are actually peaceful. Shantim Vrichyati. So this is a little different understanding of this verse based on Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary on 5.29. So Prabhupada brings out this in his purport. Research is going on for the karmis, jnanis, and yogis, but until the search is complete, no one can attain peace. So the karmis are the bhoktaram, the jnanis are the yajna tapasam, the yogis are the sarvaroka maheshwara. So the karmis are bhuktis. They want to enjoy in this world. They are bhukti kami. The jnanis are mukti kami. And the yogis are siddhi kami. So that's why they cannot attain peace until and unless they understand Bhagavan as the well-wisher and friend of every living being. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says, Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. One can actually attain peace when he knows Krishna. Krishna is a person, he is Bhagavan. This is described in the next verse. Who knows Krishna, Prabhupada says, is described in the next verse. So let us go to this next verse. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ata Eva Shant Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashant. Because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ata Eva Shant. Therefore, he is peaceful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment, bhukti. Jnanis desire liberation, mukti. And yogis desire material opulence, siddhi kami. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. Sakali ashant. Now, my question to the audience is, who is this Krishna Bhakta Ataeva Shant, which is being described in this verse? Who is this Krishna Bhakta who is Shant, described in this verse? Any other devotees? I would like to hear from others. Yes, Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandatna. Prabhuji, it is a pure devotee who is following Anya Vilasita Sunyam Gyan Karma Dena.
Yes. So we should not think that Krishna Bhakta, I am also Krishna Bhakta, that's why I am Shant. No, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. That's why I marked here. Nishkam here means desireless. This desireless means what? Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. Anya abhilashita shunyam means no other desire other than the desire to please the Lord. So that is why this refers to a pure devotee. And that's why Prabhupada in the previous verse translation, he has made it very clear. Krishna Bhakta means a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. You can see in 148, he has made it very clear. So here, Krishna Bhakta refers to a pure devotee. And especially devotees who are practicing sadhana bhakti, when they attain sadhya, that is bhava bhakti, then only they become free from bhukti and mukti desires. Till then, the conditioning is there. But the devotee doesn't have desire for enjoying in this world or liberation, but the conditioning is there. The anarthas are there. And only when anarth nivritti by bhajan kriya, when one gets purified and attains the stage of, at least the stage of asakti and then bhava, till then, he is still a sadhaka. But when he attains siddhi, that is when he becomes a bhava bhakta, then only he is considered as a very pure devotee. And that's why one of the characteristics of pure devotion, there are 6 characteristics. One of the characteristics is moksha lagutakrit. A bhava bhakta considers liberation to be insignificant. He doesn't even look at it. So that's why he's free from bhukti kami, definitely. Bhava bhakta is free from mukti and siddhi kamis also. That's why he's only peaceful. So we should have a clear understanding what this verse speaks about. Okay. So let us now, Prabhupada is straight away making it clear in his purport first line. The devotee of Lord Krishna has no desire other than serving Krishna. Prabhupada is quoting Anya Bilashita Shunya. So this is the standard of pure devotion. We are sadhakas. We are trying to aspire to come to this level. Even so-called liberated people are full of desires. Fruitive actors desire better living accommodations in this world or in the next world. And Gyanis want to become one with the Supreme. Yogis desire material opulence, yogic perfections and magic. All of these non-devotees are lusty. Prabhupada calls them as non-devotees because they desire something, they cannot have peace. Because you desire something, you cannot have peace. The peace formula is given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is quoting the same verse. Bhaktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shanti mukchati. That Krishna is the only friend who can actually do good to all living entities. Suridam sarvabhutanam. One who understands these 3 principles about Krishna. What are the 3 principles? That one who understands that throughout the entire universe, Krishna is a supreme enjoyer and beneficiary of all kinds of sacrifices. So here a different understanding or translation Prabhupada is giving compared to what Prabhupada gave in the previous verse commentary. So the karma kandis think that, I want to enjoy, and the Yageshwar is Krishna. So I'll do yagya for Krishna and get the yagya phala. But Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer. That should be the consciousness of a devotee. And yagya tapasa means for the devotee that I do austerity for the pleasure of Krishna. It is meant for Krishna's pleasure. This is the right consciousness, beneficiary of all kinds of sacrifices, penances, and austerities. So Krishna Bhakta also performs tapasya in the form of Ekadasi, Vrata, in the form of getting up for Mangalarti. All this he does for Krishna's pleasure. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, one of the limbs is Bhogadi Tyaga Krishna Hetava. You give up the desire for enjoyment, not to show how renounced you are, but for the pleasure of Krishna. So this is the right consciousness. Prabhupada is giving the consciousness what one should adopt in 5.29. And Krishna is the supreme being and thus the proprietor of all material worlds. Sarvaloka Maheshwara. So the yogis have a different conception. The yogis understand this universe is come from the Shakti of the Lord. Krishna is Yogeshwar. So they also want some yogic siddhis by meditating on this universe as the Virata Purusha, either the gross or the subtle in the form of Paramatma. So they are Siddhi Kamis. All the Siddhis reside in Krishna. Ultimately, Krishna is Yogeshwar. And whatever Siddhis the yogi have, it is just a tiny fragment, tiny fragment, what he derives from Krishna when he worships the Virata Purusha. But Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. And Krishna is the friend, Suridam. Krishna is the heart-to-heart friend of mine. So these three principles we should try to cultivate in our consciousness and come to this platform of Nishkam. And then we will be peaceful. So this is naturally there in a Siddha Bhakta, but sadhakas should cultivate these three types of consciousness. Now we discuss this verse from a different angle, 5.29. There we discussed in the previous verse when it was quoted how the Jnani, Karmakandis see the Lord as Bhaktaram. The Jnanis do tremendous austerity, see Yagya Tapasam, the Lord as Yagya Tapasam, and how the yogis see the Lord as the creator of this universe and meditate on him. And the devotees consider the Lord as a friend of living entity, and that's why they are peaceful. But how a devotee should see, what should be his consciousness, we saw this from this verse. A Krishna Bhakta knows that his friend and protector in all respects is Krishna, who is able to do anything for his devotee. Krishna can do anything for his devotee. That is the kind of friendship Krishna has. Krishna is our heart-to-heart friend. So there is, Saka, there is Bandhu, and there is Surhit. Saka means he's a friend. Whenever we meet, we meet. But Bandhu is our well-wisher. Whenever we are in trouble, he will stay with us. But Surit is a heart-to-heart friend. He will never leave us in any circumstances. When we are in real difficulty, he will always be there. So that is a Surit, heart-to-heart friend. So Krishna is our heart-to-heart friend who will protect us in all respects. And he will do anything for his devotee. And we see in the life of Pandavas, when Durvas Muni with his 10,000 disciples came, already the Pandavas had, their prasadam from the Akshay Patra, and Draupadi was in trouble. What to do? Immediately Krishna arrived there. And then in the Mahabharat war, when Drona became the commander-in-chief, he asked Duryodhana, what do you want? Sorry, when Bhishma was the commander-in-chief, Bhishma was doing his best. But still Duryodhana felt that he has affection for the Pandavas. So in one night, Duryodhana very heavily argued with Bhishma. And then Bhishma took a vow that with these 5 arrows, tomorrow I will annihilate the Pandavas. I will annihilate the Pandavas. So although Bhishma took this vow, Duryodhana, because he had Kutaniti, he was duplicitous person, he did not trust Bhishma. He said, give me that arrows. I will keep with myself. Tomorrow morning I'll give you. So Duryodhana took these arrows and went. Now, there in the camp of the Pandavas, Arjuna is sleeping very peacefully. And Krishna comes and wakes him up. And Krishna, because he's a Paramatma in everyone's heart, Krishna knew what had happened discussion between Bhishma and Duryodhana. So Arjuna was in deep sleep, And Krishna came and woke up. This is, tomorrow, Bhishma is going to, he has these 5 arrows by which he will, what to do about it. You are sleeping here peacefully, think what to do about it. So Arjuna said, when I have a friend like you, why I have to worry? So a pure devotee is peaceful because Krishna protects him. Krishna protects him. And Krishna will take all the trouble to protect his devotee and scheme how to safeguard his devotees. So then Krishna, very intelligently, because both of them went to Duryodhan's camp, and once Duryodhan was saved by the Gandharvas, by the Pandavas, especially Arjuna, and he had given a vow, any benediction you can ask. Now Krishna told him, ask that benediction to give the 5 arrows. So Duryodhan had to give back those arrows. So that's how Krishna protects his devotee. He can do anything for his devotee. So I just gave a hint from the story how Krishna is a protector and friend of his devotees. Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. So he's telling Arjuna to declare. Because Arjuna, if he makes this vow, then Krishna has to keep up that vow. Krishna can break his own vows, but Krishna cannot break the vow of his devotee. He will try to maintain that vow because his devotee has taken a vow. That is the kind of friendship Krishna has. Since Krishna gives this assurance, the devotee lives in Krishna and has no desire for personal benefit. So that's why he's Anyabhilashita Shunya. He lives in Krishna. The background for the devotee is the all good himself. Why should the devotee aspire for something good for himself? His only business is to please the Supreme by rendering as much service as possible. So what is the business of a devotee? To always please the Lord by doing devotional service. A Krishna Bhakta has no desire for his own personal benefit. He is completely protected by the Supreme. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palan. So Prabhupada is quoting one of the limbs of Sharanagati. Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam Rakshishe iti Vishvasho. So he's quoting the third limb. So this Saranagati is a very surrendered level of consciousness, where all the 6 limbs manifest. So this is a very, very exalted stage, which looks quite simple, but it is very, very exalted. That, we are completely just like a child, a young child. He doesn't think about, where I'll get my food. He's completely dependent on the parents. The parents' consciousness is fully absorbed in taking care of the child. He will run here and there. He will not see whether there are steps. He is completely blissful. He doesn't worry about anything. So similarly, a pure devotee is like that. That is his level of consciousness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that he is desireless because Krishna will give him protection in all circumstances. It is not that he expects any assistance from Krishna. He simply depends on Krishna just as a child depends on his parents. So this is the exact consciousness what I was trying to explain. The child does not know how to expect service from his parents. So it is not that the devotee expects that Krishna should protect me, by which he is actually engaging Krishna is in his service. He doesn't like to do that. But the child also doesn't feel that Krishna, the parent should serve me to feed me and all. But the child, because he is surrendered to the parents, it naturally is reciprocatory. Devotional service is reciprocatory, both ways it is. So that's why Prabhupada is giving some hint of that consciousness. But he's always protected nevertheless. This is called Nishkam, desirelessness. Although karmis, jnanis and yogis fulfill their desires by performing various activities, they are never satisfied. The karmis perform yagyas to enjoy in this world and next world. These are activities. The jnanis perform a lot of jnana tapasya. And the yogis perform a lot of austerities to attain siddhis, but still they are never satisfied. A karmi may work very hard to acquire $1 million, but as soon as he gets $1 million, he desires another million. For the karmis, there is no end of desire. The more the karmi gets, the more he desires. So this is the nature of the conditioned soul. The jnanis cannot be desireless because their intelligence is unsound. They want to merge into the Brahman effulgence, but even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. Brahmananda. Because the jiva's constitution is loving devotional service. There are many jnanis or sannyasis who, after taking sannyas and giving up the world as false, return to the world to engage in politics, philanthropy, or to open schools and hospitals. So Prabhupada is here speaking of the Jnana Vimukta Manina. They are actually not liberated, but they think they are liberated. And they give up this world and they give up all actions. But since they are not liberated by the Jnana path or the Yoga path, so Prabhupada is saying that they come back to again perform devotions, do some philanthropic activity. This means they do not attain the real Brahman, Brahma Satya. They have to come down to the material platform to engage in philanthropic activity. Thus, they again cultivate desires, and when these desires are exhausted, they desire something different. Therefore, the Jnani cannot be Nishkam, desireless. So, how the Jnani is not desireless, Prabhupada is explaining in these points here. Now, how the yogis are not Nishkam, Prabhupada is explaining. Nor can the yogis be desireless, for they desire yogic perfections in order to exhibit some magical feats and gain popularity. So they want to become famous in this world. But Krishna is all famous. But they want to become famous. Pratishta Asha. Even the devotee should become free from Pratishta Asha. People gather around these yogis and the yogi desire more and more adulation. More people should glorify me. So in the Kumbh Mela, when you go, there are yogis who perform magical feats so that people get attracted to them. So this has nothing to do with pure devotional service. Because they misuse their mystic power, they fall down again to the material platform. It is not possible for them to become Nishkam, desireless. The conclusion is that only the devotees who are simply satisfied in serving the Lord can actually become desireless. So Prabhupada mentions how one can become desireless. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam. Since the Krishna Bhakta, the devotee of Krishna, is satisfied with Krishna, there is no possibility of fall down. So Prabhupada is giving a hint here how the devotee should come to this position where he doesn't fall down by completely being satisfied serving Krishna and nothing else. So this is also a very exalted stage, but that is our aspiration. That is our aspiration and goal we should understand. So the Nishkam level, we should have a clear understanding. Now here in the chart, I have summarized everything. The position of the living entity was what Mahaprabhu is describing. So the living entities are of two types, Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha. And Mahaprabhu is describing the Nitya Baddha. In Nitya Baddha, there is no further division of Nitya Siddha, but in Nitya Baddha, there is Tavar and Jangam. Within the Jangam, there is Tiryak, Jalachar, Stalachar. Tiryak are the birds, aquatics, and those who move on land. And within the Stalachar, there are many, like many animals which move on earth. In that, there is a Manushya Jati, which is also moving on land. Alpatar, Ati Alpatar, it was mentioned, Manushya Jati. And among the Manushya Jati, there are the Mlechadi, the uncivilized, the Yavanas, Mlechadi, Shabaras, all that classification is there. And there is the Vedanishta, there who are the Aryas, who follow the Vedas. And among those who follow the Vedas, they are what? Veda Mukamane, they are unrighteous, only give lip service to the Vedas. They do papa, Veda Nishidha papa kare. They do sin. And then there is righteous, the Dharmachari, who actually follow the Vedic principles. And among the Dharmachari, there are many who are Karmanisht. Koti Karmanisht Made, Ek Jnani Shresht. And Koti Jnana Mukta Madhe, Eka Krishna Bhakt. Koti Jnana Madhe, Eka Jnani Mukta. And Koti Mukta Madhe, Durlabha Eka Krishna Bhakt. And Eka Krishna Bhakt here refers to the pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So this is everything summarized in these two charts. And Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atayeva Shant, it was mentioned, na? So the karmis desire material enjoyment, the jnanis desire liberation, merging in Brahman, yogis desire material opulence, yogic perfections. The bhaktas should desire only to serve Krishna. They all are having personal desire, that's why they cannot be peaceful. And here there is no selfish desire, hence they are peaceful. But again, we should have a clear understanding of this, that when we come to this platform of Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, no other desire in the heart is completely purified by the process of sadhana bhakti, by Chaito Darpan Marjanam has happened. Then, when we have attained the stage of Asakti or Bhava, then even the subtle desires of Bhukti Kami and Siddhi Kami or Mukti Kami are completely eradicated from the heart. Then we also become Nishkam. We are also now in one sense Nishkam, in the sense, although these desires for enjoyment are there in our conditioning, and the subtle desires are there in the form of liberation or mystic, but we see them as anarthas. We are struggling to overcome them. Anarth nivritti is happening. So we see them as anarthas. And we are battling to, and we are aspiring for pure devotional service. And when we overcome the anarthas, we get purified, then we become completely peaceful, because we have no other desire other than the desire to serve the Lord. So the next verse is a reference or quotation about what was quoted by Mahaprabhu. So we will take up this verse. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma kotishva api mahamune. O great sage Mahamune, out of the millions of materially liberated people, Muktanam api, who are free from ignorance, out of the millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, siddhanam, there is hardly sudurlabha, one pure devotee of Narayan, Narayana Parayana, kotishvu api, out of millions of such, only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. Prashanta Atma. So let us go quickly through this purport, and then if there are any questions, we can take up. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. The Narayan Parayan, the devotee of Lord Narayan, is only blissful person. So Prabhupada's statement is, we are still not blissful in Krishna consciousness. Until the anarthas are gone, we cannot attain that highest bliss. Sandranand Visheshatma, condensed bliss, is a quality of Prema Bhakti. He already possesses all the perfections of yoga. Unless one comes to the platform of Narayan Parayan and passes over the platform of Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, he cannot be fully satisfied. So Prabhupada is making it very, very clear for the devotees that one has to come to complete Sharnagati, complete surrender to Narayan. That means Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, completely pure. And there is no desire in the heart for Bhukti, Mukti or Siddhi. That means he is a purified devotee. And Prabhupada is making clear that he cannot be fully satisfied. We are satisfied now with our sadhana practice, but not fully satisfied. That is the pure devotional stage. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulena krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. So Prabhupada is saying that is this stage. That is when a sadhaka attains siddhi, when he attains bhava bhakti, then he becomes anya abhilashita shunyam. Till then, the sadhaka practice, there are abhilashas, and we are struggling, we are battling with them. Anarth nivritti is still not happened. So till then, he is satisfied, but not fully satisfied. One who desires nothing but Krishna, who is not influenced by the process of Gyan Marg, cultivation of knowledge, actually becomes free from ignorance. A first-class person is one who is not influenced by karma, fruitivity, or yoga, mystic power. He simply depends on Krishna and is satisfied in his devotional service. Prabhupada is giving hint of how to become free from Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana Para Sarve Na Kutascha Bibhyate. Such a person is never afraid of anything. For him, heaven and hell are the same. See the consciousness of a Narayan Parayan. Not knowing the situation of Narayan Parayan, rascals become envious. Now, Prabhupada is speaking something very personal. Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta are the personal ecstasies of Prabhupada, and personally Prabhupada reveals his own intimate exchanges, what he is experiencing, because Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta is very dear to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada is explaining that about himself here. Prabhupada is 100% Narayan Parayan. And Prabhupada is speaking about others who criticize him, and he says them as rascals because they are envious. By the grace of Narayan, a devotee is situated in the most opulent position in the material world. So Prabhupada had hundreds of temples, big skyscraper temples. What an opulence he had. Once when he arrived in the airport, the devotees had arranged a big Rolls-Royce car or some car like that. And the reporters were envious. You are a renounced person. Why do you need such a big car arrangement? Oh, the devotees have just arranged only Rolls-Royce. They should have arranged a car which was made of gold, Prabhupada said. Because he's completely surrendered. All opulence what the Lord possesses, a pure devotee can possess. So, by the grace of Narayan, a devotee is situated in opulent positions. Rascals are envious of Narayan and his devotee. But the devotee endeavors to please another devotee of Narayan, because he knows that by pleasing Narayan's representative, one directly pleases the Lord. So a devotee means here Prabhupada's disciples. They were trying to please Prabhupada, who was Narayan Parayan. By doing this, these devotees, Prabhupada disciples, are pleasing Prabhupada, and the Lord is more pleased when his pure devotees are pleased, because they can make advancement. So Prabhupada is, that's why, explaining how Prabhupada is accepting the service so that ultimately they can advance in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna, when sees that his pure devotees are pleased, Krishna bestows mercy. So that is why Narayan Parayan accepts these services. Therefore, a devotee offers the best comforts and facilities to his spiritual master. Outsiders who have no knowledge of Narayan are envious of both Narayan and his devotee. Therefore, the materialist refuses the company of Narayan Parayan, although he is envious of the devotee's material situation. In Western countries, when ordinary men, storekeepers and workers see our devotees living and eating sumptuously and yet not working, they become very eager to know where they get the money. So they are seeing the Hare Krishnas have temples, they have vehicles, cars, they are eating, they are chanting, dancing, and they are not working hard like us. And they are enjoying life, spiritual happiness. They are very happy, blissful. They become envious. Such people become envious and ask, how is it possible to live so comfortably without working? How is it you have so many cars, bright faces, and nice clothes? Not knowing that Krishna looks after his devotees, such people become surprised and some become envious. So Prabhupada is giving, the actual situation, what was happening when he was spreading the Hare Krishna movement. So now the next theme is very important. Prabhupada has, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has spoken about a pure devotee who is Nishkam. But where it all begins? It all begins with the beginning of devotional service when the Bhakti Lata Bij we get. So now, to come to that pure devotee platform, it all begins how your pure devotion begins. That is the next theme which we will be discussing in our next class. So now one important point I wanted to make about this verse. We can understand whom this verse is referring to. He is superior to those who are mukta. He is superior to those who are siddha, and they are also mukta. And crores of such people who are mukta and siddha, sudurlabha, very rare, is a Narayan Parayan, who is completely Prashantatma. So, my question to the devotees here is, we can now understand how exalted is this platform of Narayan Parayana. So what is the hope for us? To become Narayan Parayan is not easy. What is the hope for us? What we should do? You know how exalted is Narayan Parayan now? So what is the hope for us? What we should do? The hint was given in Prabhupada's purport. Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat. What I gather is like you should surrender yourself 100% to Lord Krishna, and everything is everything, each and everything has to be Krishna centric. That is the only hope, I think.
Okay, any other thoughts? We know now how exalted is Narayan Parayan platform. A pure devotee who is 100% surrendered to Krishna. We cannot expect that we are at that level of that surrendered consciousness. So what is the hope for us? That we can ultimately, come to that platform of Nishkam. What is the hope for us? Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
We must take shelter of bona fide Guru.
Yes, that is the point. We should serve such Narayan Parayanas. That is the only hope for us.
Yes.
We should serve such Narayan Parayanas, 100% surrender to Krishna, who have no other desire except the desire to please Krishna. We should assist them, we should serve them in their mission. And we can that best do by serving Prabhupada's mission of distributing his books, preaching the message, what Prabhupada is giving, studying his books, and Prabhupada's representatives, the spiritual masters. Whenever we get opportunity, whatever little service we can get, we should surrender ourselves to such Narayan Parayan devotees and serve them. That is our only ray of hope. Otherwise, how exalted this platform, we can understand. So now from next week onwards, we will begin this very important theme, how we can, how we begin our devotional service with the Bhakti Lata Bij, and how by cultivating this Bhakti Lata Bij to the Savan Kirtan process, attain this platform of Krishna Prem, where a Krishna Bhakta is Nishkam. How the progression will happen, that gradual discussion, step by step, systematically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to teach to Rūpa Goswami. And it is a very, very important discussion, how we should become a Krishna Bhakta. Krishna Bhakta here, as per Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada's translation, is a pure devotee. So how to come to this topmost platform from the beginning stages, step-by-step progression will be discussed, especially in Prabhupada purports, which we will take up in the next class. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Kaviraj Das Goswami ki jai. Sri Chaitanya-Caritāmṛta ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have one query. If Bhakti Marga is the only mark to reach Lord Krishna, then why he has created Jnana or a Karma Yoga or other yoga? I mean, he is the Supreme Lord, he is the creator, he is the enjoyer. Then he should have created only one mark, that is Bhakti. So everybody is in Bhakti and,
Okay, very nice question. So if Bhakti Marg is the only marg to realize Bhagwan and attain the Lord, then why the Lord has created these other paths? In fact, the Lord is very, very magnanimous. And the conditioned souls who have come in this material world, they have a desire to enjoy separate from the Lord. So Krishna gives a multi-level option so that ultimately they can come to him. So that's why at the lowest level, Krishna gives the karma kanda. Okay, you are envious that Krishna is the enjoyer. You want to enjoy in this world. You have money desires to enjoy. So worship, you want to worship the devatas, the ministers. You want to surrender yourself to the ministers because they can easily provide you enjoyment. You surrender to the ministers. Yes, ultimately the ministers are my, energies. They have been appointed by me. I only give the ministers whom you worship. It's I only who fulfill. Krishna in the Gita tells. But that is one step. They are following the path of Vedas. They have come to one step. So similarly, based on the different mentalities of the conditioned souls, Krishna has given these different paths so that ultimately, slowly, gradually, they will come to this highest level of understanding. Otherwise, if there is only one path, then, my way is the highway. If you don't take my path, then you are eternally damned to stay in hell. No, Krishna is very magnanimous. So that's why there is a multi-level and a broad pathway Krishna has created. But ultimately, if you see in the Gita also, Krishna progressively explains the Karma Yoga through Varnashram, then Nishkam Karma Yoga, then through Nishkam Karma Yoga, when one attains perfection, one can take up the Gyan path for liberation or the Ashtanga path, which is mentioned in 5th and 6th chapter. And who is the topmost yogi? Yogi Namapi Sarvesham. Then Bhakti Yoga is the highest. So ultimately, Bhakti Thakur also mentions that all these paths ultimately are meant to come to the platform of Bhakti. So these are different ways by which you come to path of Bhakti. And initially, if you are not ready to take up directly devotional service, then because of your conditioning, then there are these other paths through which you can slowly, gradually come. And ultimately, it is only the path of Bhakti only by which we can attain the Lord and attain the spiritual world. But Krishna being magnanimous, he wants to access all the conditioned souls. He's like millions of mothers. The Vedas are like, compared to millions of mothers. So the jivas have unlimited desires, and the Vedas, through the path of karma kanda, gradually elevate the conditioned souls, ultimately to come to the path of surrender, to the path of devotion. Geeta Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that you should fight. He gives the knowledge, but he tells you should fight. So that is the Nishkam Karma Yoga, right? He is telling Arjuna to follow. So if we will do this practically, if we will do this in our life, means we can do that only because we cannot leave our duties. So how we will be able to attain that is the highest goal, but how we will be able to attain the Lord.
Okay. So the Gita, in the Gita, Krishna instructs Arjuna based on his Kshatriya dharma. Based on his Kshatriya dharma. Kshatriya dharma requires that one should fight. That's why Krishna is, karmanyeva adhikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana. So this is on the level of duty based on one's conditioning. So Arjuna is playing the role of a conditioned soul as a Kshatriya. But this is one level of instruction. This is the path of Karma Yoga, further Nishkam Karma Yoga, where it is offered to the Lord. Karma Arpanam, as I was mentioning. So this is one level. But later on, when Krishna, in the end of the Gita, reveals that you are my part and parcel, and your dharma, the pure dharma of the soul is loving devotional service unto me. So there, Krishna is speaking about pure devotion. That is bhakti. And there, if you see, Krishna doesn't say, after hearing about pure devotional service, Arjuna says, Karishye vachanam tava. I will do your words. That means the soul, eternal duty is to fulfill the desire of the Lord. And the Lord's now desire was that this battle should happen. So Arjuna doesn't fight the war based on his Kshatriya dharma as a Kshatriya within the Varnashram, as Karma Yoga, but based on pure devotion, that is the dharma of the soul, towards the supreme dharma, which is pure devotion, bhakti. That is why in the Gita, Krishna is saying, Sarva dharman parityajya. Give up all other dharmas. Give up your Varnashram dharma. Give up sannyas dharma. Give up moksha dharma. Give up all dharmas and surrender unto me. Mam ekam sharanam. This is pure devotional service. Aham tam sarva papyabhyo mokshishami mahasucha. I will free you of all sins. Do not fear. So this is the true meaning of Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Now for us as devotees, this is a very elevated platform. So right now, as devotees, we should do our core bhakti practices. That is, chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, following the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. This is what we should do as our sadhana, as much time as we get, especially the early morning hours. And based on our conditioned nature, we have our duties. We have our duties. A wife has a duty and as a wife towards the husband, as towards the children, towards the elders. This is all coming under Stri Dharma. The husband has duties like that. And we have our nature and conditioning. Based on that, we have inclination to do particular kind of work. All this we should do so that it is favorable to our Krishna consciousness. It's a vast subject, but I'm just summarizing, that we should do all these duties. We have to balance our core bhakti activities, spiritual activities, the dharma of the soul, pure devotional service, and the dharma because of our conditioning. And we should not think that, we are gopis, that, when Krishna plays the flute, they can give up everything and just go in the dead of the night, having no lajja, that, they are, they are leaving in the dead of the night, leaving their husbands and going to the forest to meet Krishna. That is considered, even from a Vedic point, it is considered unchaste. But the gopis can do that because the gopis are in spiritual bodies. The gopis, one body was there in the house, another spiritual body, they had gone to meet Krishna. But we are conditioned. We have conditioned bodies, conditioned minds, conditioned natures. So usually in spiritual life, where the trouble comes in our practices is when we don't balance our conditioned nature duties along with our spiritual duties, core activities. And that's why there is sometimes conflict. I want to go to the temple, but I have to also cook prasadam for the deities at home, and then we compromise and we don't know where to balance, and that's where the conflict comes. So we need to know the art of balance between our conditioned nature duties and our constitutional duties. As long as we are conditioned by the modes, the effects are there. Slowly, as we become free from the conditioning and become liberated, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashita, and we are completely under the control of internal potency, where we are, that time Krishna will make facility. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Bhajantan Dhrida Vrata Namasyante Tu Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upastya, to be constantly engaged in constitutional activities, that is pure devotional service. Till then, we need to balance. It's very important. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yeah, Prabhuji, but still we will get binded with the karma bandhana, right? When we are doing the conditional duties.
No, it should be done in a favorable way, and slowly, slowly we'll become free by more and more practice of devotional activities. More and more practice of devotional activities, we will slowly come out of the conditioning and binding. That's why it is more important that we focus in the early morning hours our core sadhana, and then we are in right consciousness to do our conditional activities properly. There has to be a balance. For us, we don't understand, first thingly, is that when there is awakening of pure faith, then there is 100% surrender, sarva dharman parityajya, and then we completely give up our conditioned activities. That's when we are 24 hours engaged in bhajan. That's a very exalted stage, very, very exalted stage. So we have our conditioned nature, we have to recognize it, but also we have to understand that the core devotional activity should not be compromised. A balance has to be struck. There's no other way. Amal Bhaktarani Mataji, you had a question?
No, Prabhuji, I got the answer.